Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. This is your host, Brittany Duncan, and today I want to get us thinking about what we've accomplished this past year and what we hope to accomplish in the year to come. Personally, my brain is still back in October, so I'm going to need to start thinking about January now if there's any hope of me not writing the wrong date for at least the first 3 months of the year. The other day I wrote 2024 on something, so if that tells you where my brain's at, that is where I am. Honestly, I'm really proud of what I've accomplished in the last year. I had goals that focused heavily on health and nutrition, which I feel like I've done. I had goals to read more, and I've read more in the past year than I ever have before in a year. I feel like my relationships are in their prime. My relationship with myself is the healthiest it's been, and in a strange way, I think I've become my most chill self in the past year, which for a type A, do-it-yourself, independent kind of woman, it is a good thing. I've honed in on what's really important to me and have really tried to let go of all the rest, let it fade away as much as possible if it's not one of those key areas of my life that are really important to me. I'd be lying if I said that I'm not afraid that this growth journey will come to a halt once I become a mom and have a baby to care for. And so I want to do everything I can to make sure that my marriage and personal goals are set up for success before I head to the hospital. And part of that is taking pen to paper and thinking about what I'd like 2026 to look like. Being realistic that I know life changes when you have a baby and you become a mom and your marriage changes and your personal goals change. Everything I've been told changes. So I am realistic about that, but I want to go into it with somewhat of a plan and know that that plan is flexible. Each year I have a slightly different way of writing a New Year's resolution, or I prefer the term goal list. And this year I've decided to break it down by month and then write 3 goals under each month: a personal goal, a family goal, and a house goal. Before I dive into the categories and share my list, I want to share my 3 favorite things of the week, starting off with the amazing feedback I received from many of you on the last 2 episodes. Both were topics that I was a little apprehensive to cover, but I felt were important. And I had many friends, family members, listeners who I've never met before reach out to me and tell me how the episodes resonated with them and shared their insights and just had really great conversations about what they walked away with. So I can't tell you how much it warms my heart when I hear that this podcast helps someone somewhere, that I'm on the right track. And I know that not every episode, not all the content is going to be right for everybody. But when I hear that, even if it just reached one person, it makes a huge difference. So thank you to everybody who did reach out to me. It really made my week. My next favorite thing was part of the sermon at church yesterday. I learned the origin story of the well-known Christmas song, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" by Noel Regney. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Which I'm going to share a Cliff Note version of with you today because it really hit my heart. I loved it. And I'll have the longer version, not of the sermon, but of the origin story linked in the show notes if you want to read more about it. But in short, Noel was French-born, had a promising musical career, but then came World War II, and he was drafted against his will into the German army. He hated the Nazis who occupied the lands he called home, and eventually, while still in the German army, he became a part of the French underground resistance, where he would ultimately lead a group of German soldiers into crossfire. He never talked about what that experience was like. I imagine even knowing that, those people were bad people, but I'm sure some of them weren't and were, forced to be in the army as well. He did, had made comments that it was, horrible and that kind of thing. And how it weighed on his heart, but he never talked about that particular day. Anyway, he had did lead this group of German soldiers into crossfire. Then he deserted the German army. He lived underground until the end of the war. Fast forward to 1962. By this time, Noel had been living in Manhattan for 10 years, was working in various musical aspects. He was asked to write a Christmas song, which he never thought he'd do because he felt that Christmas had been commercialized. Wonder what he would think now. Just take my sass out of it. This also happened to be during the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which involved the United States and the Soviet Union fighting over missiles that had been installed in Cuba. The U.S. was threatening military action if the missiles were not removed. As you can imagine, if you were not alive during this time period, tensions were high in the United States. People were on edge, not feeling the Christmas spirit, wondering if their country, their home, was on the brink of nuclear war. While on his way home from the studio, Noel saw two mothers walking side by side with their babies in strollers, and he stopped to watch them and was struck how the babies were smiling and giggling at one another. In this time of heaviness, where, most people were not making conversation, they weren't smiling, they weren't laughing, he heard the babies laughing. He saw them smiling. The song was written as a prayer for peace of a world on the brink of war. The song closes out, "Pray for peace, people everywhere. Listen to what I say. The child sleeping in the night, he will bring us goodness and light." I can say, after years of Baby It's Cold Outside being my favorite Christmas song, that this one now takes the #1 spot, and for good reason. I absolutely love the origin story, and I think it's just as important now as it was in 1962 that we pray for peace everywhere and that we trust that we will be delivered into goodness and light. Honestly, it feels wrong to follow up with a third thing of the week after that, so I'm just going to jump into the main episode segment now. As a refresher, I wrote down all 12 months. Under each, I wrote house, family, and personal. You'll note that I don't have a work or business category. Even though I work full-time and I own a side business, while these things are important to me, they're not my end-all, and they're not main things to me. They're not those core groups that I want to make sure I am hitting that fill my soul and who I want to be as a person. And therefore I left them off of my resolution list. I don't like to blur the line between personal and work life. So combining them for me in goal planning feels off. But if it doesn't for you, absolutely add a fourth category. My full-time employer, we have a whole process that we go through to set goals for the upcoming year. So I know that I will be doing that with my manager, and so that is also in the back of my mind. But I like to keep the main things, and for me that's family and personal, of course, homemaking. So let's get into it. Pretty simple. House is projects that I would like to do for the house. Family is things I would like to do with or for my family, and personal are goals that personally enrich me. I'm going to share the first 7 months of the year that I've mapped out, as I'm still trying to figure out what I want August through December to look like, knowing that I'll have returned to work and I will have a 4-month-old, and I really want to be realistic about my goals. So I'm going to need to do some research and talk to my fellow moms who have been through it and can tell me if I'm setting myself up for failure or if I'm on the right track. Okay, here we go. Mom, if you're listening, maybe fast forward to February. In January. For the house, I want to clean out the guest room to be a nursery. We've sort of started doing this, but we still have our guest bed in there, things like that. The closet still has some things in it that, need to be I want to get that room fully cleaned out where only nursery items are in there in January. For my family goal, I would like to host a birthday brunch for my mom. I know that my hosting months are probably limited, and so this would be a nice way that I can serve and make her feel special on her birthday or around her birthday, and celebrate with our family that's in town here in Boise. And then my personal goal is that I want to take sewing classes, which as I was writing this down, said, okay, if you want to take sewing classes in January, you better sign up. And so I found some sewing classes. I signed up. I am taking a set of 3. I'm going to make myself some flannel pajama bottoms from a pattern, and hopefully that is going to get me going. in February, my goals are, with that knowledge I learned sewing, that I would like to sew curtains for the nursery. I would like to take a baby moon with my husband. We have booked off the time, but have not actually booked where we are going yet. So that's something that obviously needs to happen before February in terms of booking, but just having that space together in February. And then personal is that I would like to host a Galentine's event. My dear friend Valerie, she hosted one last year and I loved it. And so again, I, know that my hosting days will kind of be numbered as we get closer to the birth. And so this would be a nice way to show love to my friends. March, I would like to get, for our house goal, paint the nursery. Family, get a will created. I hope, please don't judge me, but we don't have a will yet. And so that's something that obviously is important now that we have a little one on the way. I think it's important no matter what stage of life you're in. I mean, the fact that like Johnson and I are married, there's a lot of things that like the state just takes care of that like he would be the beneficiary. But honestly, there's a lot of health decisions that I would like to have worked out as well. And I think it's a good idea for you and your loved ones to do that so that God forbid you're ever in a situation where your family needs to make medical decisions for you. They have an idea of what you wanted. Personal goal for March is to get a massage. I'm sure I'm going to be feeling quite uncomfortable by then, and so that will be a little treat for myself. Personal goal, treat myself to a massage. April, house goals, I would like to set up the garden bed irrigation, and that's definitely going to involve my sweet husband because I'm trying to be realistic. At that point, I will be 8 months pregnant, and while I typically set up our garden bed irrigation, I will probably have to lean on him for support in that. So heads up, honey, put it on your to-do list for April. Family, I want to have a spoil Sage weekend. For new listeners, Sage is our beloved golden retriever. She's our firstborn child. She is 6. Johnson and I got her when we were married, but like just newly. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. She is been with us through it all. She's our pride and joy. And knowing that we will have a baby boy coming in May, I really want to have a weekend where we just dote on Sage and take her to all her favorite places and take her on a hike and go get her a pop cup and just do all the things to have a weekend with her. And my personal goal is to get my hair done. Again, I know that come May, June, July, who knows how long, I will not have a lot of personal time. So I would like to get my hair done, get those grays covered, in April. My May goals are for the house. I'd like to plant the garden beds. Again, this is probably going to be more me asking Johnson, hey, can you help me with this, and directing where the plants go. Hopefully we'll go to the nursery together and pick out starter plants. I already decided. Normally I start seeds and do all that. I decided this year that I'm not going to do that. Again, setting realistic expectations of where I am going to be in that final trimester of pregnancy, that okay, maybe go easy on yourself and go get starter plants from the nursery, and then Johnson can help me get them in the ground, but that's my goal for May. For our family goal, to open and fund an investment account for the new baby. You can't do that before they are born, obviously, and so that's something that we would like to do once he is born. And then my personal goal is to get the hang of breastfeeding and pumping, and hopefully getting the baby to also take a bottle. I know this, is the spectrum of how easy this is wide, but it's a goal. I would like to breastfeed, and but I would also like the baby to be able to take a bottle, because I really do want to have the freedom to not be the only source of nutrition for the baby directly from the breast, but also that I want Johnson to be able to have that experience and connection of feeding his child. So I think it's a a good way for both. That's one of our personal decisions that we've made. And so hopefully in May, we'll be starting to get the hang of that. June, I wrote for the house goal, keep it from burning down. You just had a baby. Relax and know it's okay if it goes off the rails a bit. That's a mental note to myself that, okay, don't give yourself a house goal for June after you just had a baby, you crazy woman. Family, I would like to set up a date night or a day date with Johnson without the baby and then coordinate a trusted family member to watch him, even if it's just for like an hour or two. But I think it's important after you have a baby to still take time with just your spouse. And so I want to put that on my goal list to do. And at that point, some point in June will be several weeks, if not a month, up to 6 weeks after we have the baby. And so that feels like a good time. And then my personal goal is to join a mom's group. Kind of same thing. I think timing wise, that will be a good time to start, getting connected with other moms, and hopefully we'll feel good leaving the house at that point. July, get the house back to base. Y'all have heard me talk about that before. And then I wrote just a note to myself to hire a house cleaner if doing this is overwhelming. But I will be going back to work in August, so getting the house back to base and back to our routines, figuring out what those new routines look like. If getting the house back to a space where I can keep up with it is difficult, I'm going to hire a house cleaner to do it. And I know I did the episode that was like, I almost hired a house cleaner. I know they're expensive and that I probably could do as good of job or maybe a better job because I am picky about the way that I like things. But the caveat there is that I don't have a newborn baby right now. So maybe come July, that'll change. Our family goal, I'd like, and maybe we'll do this sooner, just depending on how things go, but I would like to take our first weekend trip up to Stanley with the baby in July. Again, maybe we'll go sooner, but I put it as a goal in July that, by then, hopefully we'll be feeling like we've got our feet under us a little bit and can take a trip as a family up there. And then my personal goal is to start going to the gym again. And I didn't specify how many days, I didn't specify what exactly that looks like, but just to start in terms of that postpartum, assuming that my doctors have cleared me and all of that jazz. And that takes me through July. And I don't have anything for August, September, October, November, December. I've got get back on skis. I'm so sad to be missing ski season this year, obviously for good reason. Wouldn't trade it for the world, but I definitely want to get back on skis next year. So that's an easy one to put down. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of how I broke it down. I hope that this episode has been helpful and gives you something to think about as we have just really 2 weeks before the new year. So if you want to start making your list about what you hope 2026 will look like, now is a great time to do it. All right, until next week, happy homemaking, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.